All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. We are glad to be here, and thank you to all of you for joining us today. We want to take the time here, in the next 30 minutes or so, to share with everyone what we have going on with Eclipse LSP for Jakarta project, which is looking at building a language server for Jakarta EE APIs. So we'll talk about where the project is and provide everyone with project updates. Some project updates, and then we'll dive into the team will dive into some of the recent enhancements and contributions that's been done. So that's what we'll do today. And let us know if you have any questions or feedback. We'll love to hear from you and work with you on this project. Over to you, Kathryn.
Thanks, YK. So we'll be talking about what's new and what's next with our project today. So I'm here joined by Leslie and Matthew. So to start, we are the Eclipse LSP for Jakarta project offers language server protocol-based coding assistance for the Jakarta EE APIs. And the Jakarta EE APIs are the open cloud-native Java APIs that assist developers when they are creating their Java enterprise applications. So our project will offer assistance such as code completion or diagnostics, errors, and warnings, as developers are using these APIs in their preferred IDE or text editor. And for the past few months, we have been working on this project in partnership with CANOSP, which is the Canadian Open Source Projects academic program. And this is a program that's run here in Canada that connects students to, with open source projects they can work on. So we have been fortunate enough to participate in this program. This is our second term participating, and we've had the honor of working with 5 very skilled university students this term. So I've got Leslie from McGill University and Matthew from University of Alberta here with us today. But I also like to call out Hanny, Mandy, and Vera, who have also been working on this project. So let's start with what's new with the project. So previously we did a tech talk like this back in December, but since then there have been a number of updates to the project. So the most important is that our project proposal has been approved. So we have created the project under the Eclipse Foundation and submitted the initial community contribution. And along with that, we have renamed to use the Eclipse namespace, and we've added improved coverage for the web profile APIs. So before I hand it over to Leslie and Matthew, I will give a bit of a background on the project. So to start, what is a language server? And so the language server protocol has become the standard way to provide language support features, things such as snippets, document errors and warnings, which we call diagnostics, or code completion through a preferred editor or IDE. And so the idea here is you create one language server and it can be reused through minimal clients in multiple IDEs or text editors. So by decoupling this task, the same language server can add language support for multiple different IDEs or text editors. So here's an overview of what our project looks like. So we have the LSP for Jakarta project, which is our language server for Jakarta EE. And as per the language server protocol, it communicates with the Eclipse IDE through JSON RPC. And in Eclipse, we are offering, as part of this project, an Eclipse IDE plugin. And this plugin starts and consumes our language server. So as developers are using Jakarta EE APIs in their Java files, they will start receiving language feature support, such as completion, diagnostics, snippets, and more. And so the Eclipse also contains the Eclipse JDT, which is the Eclipse Java development tools. And this is a set of tools that powers the Eclipse development environment for Java. And this can perform work such as computing class paths, compiling, code manipulation. So to avoid duplicating that work in our plugin, we also include a JDT extension. So whenever we need knowledge of the class path or we need to manipulate the code, that is also handled by the JDT extension within our plugin. So with that, I will hand it over to Matthew and Leslie to talk about some of the specific enhancements they have made throughout the past few months and give us a demo.
Hey, I'm Matthew. So I'm gonna just talk about some of the enhancements we've done over the past semester. So some of the stuff as a team we've been working on are Jakarta RESTful Web Services support, or JAXRS, and doing making snippets, diagnostics, and quick fixes for that, as well as for Jakarta content and dependency injection, CDI support, and making diagnostics and quick fixes for that as well. So some examples of, next slide. Some examples of what I've specifically been working on is a diagnostic and a quick fix for JAXRS resource method visibility. So it's just one of the diagnostics that's checking for proper visibility on resource methods, and it includes a quick fix as well to fix that, as well as diagnostic warnings for root resource class constructors for JAXRS as well, where it'll just warn you if there's multiple constructors with different parameters of the same amount, and give the proper diagnostic for that as well. So yeah, now Leslie will talk about some of the other stuff we've been working on.
Yeah, hi. Leslie, and some of the stuff that I've been working on this semester for the language server enhancements was adding Jakarta JSON-B support, as well as adding the quick fixes for the existing diagnostics for bean validation and persistence. You can see in this GIF here, basically the quick fix identifies, so you can't have a static field with a annotation, a constraint annotation, and so there's two quick fixes available, one to either remove the annotation and one to remove the static modifier, so you can choose. Another one here, and similarly, this one's just not static, and so you just get a quick fix to remove the constraint annotation in this situation. And that's pretty much it. Go back to Matthew to start the demo.
Okay, I'll just share my screen real quick. And so, yeah, I'm going to show you using Open Liberty. We're going to make a project that we want to show a list of students and then be able to display it and give it other students through a website. So I'll start off by making a students class. Okay. And so I can use this snippet, one of the JAXRS snippets here, just set up the file and set up all the correct paths. We'll do it with students. Okay. Oh, oops, there we go. Fix it. Okay, so now we have this method. And so, for example, if I, for some reason, wanted to make this private, it'll give me a warning that I can't do that, and I can just check the quick fix, and I'll change it back over. So I'll add this to the path. And then I can go here and just working. Yep. So we get the hello. So I basically just using snippets and changing some of the names. I've already got it showing up here. So now if I wanted to be able to add students to a list, for example, I can use another code snippet, post, and let's call this create a new student. And just import these. Okay. So one other example of a diagnostic is, let's say I try to add a second argument to this. An int number. We'll get a warning that resource methods can't have multiple entity parameters. Since this is just something outlined in the spec, there'd be no way to access this. So yeah, you might be debugging and you're not sure why you're not getting this information. It's because the server just can't see it. So we'll fix that. And yeah, now I will pass you over to Leslie, who will pick up with a version where we've implemented a bit more and show you some more stuff. Oh.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen here. All right, so here we have the students app again, and we've just implemented a little bit more of the get students method, and we also have a post method for creating a new student. It doesn't do very much right now, so we're just going to add a little bit to that, and also show the person class that we're using for the entity. So first, I've got some errors here. So the diagnostic here, a class using the entity annotation must not be final. So another one of the quick fixes that were implemented is it will actually just remove the final modifier from this class. So that's better. And then here we've got an internal ID field, which is a string, but it has future annotation. And we'll get the diagnostic that the future annotation can only be used on date type fields. And so we get another quick fix to remove the constraint annotation there. So maybe we want to add a little bit more to this applications when we create students. So let's say we want to add a name to the students. So we're going to add path parameter here. And then in here, we can add, and also so we do something like this, and then we get another diagnostic now that we've added stuff to the constructor. Again, a class using the entity annotation, it has to have a public or protected constructor with no arguments. And so we've added a quick fix for this as well, which will add either you can choose between a no argument protected constructor or a public one. Let's just go with the public one in this case. All right. And we should be able now to make a post request to add a new student. And again, I'm just running the same Open Liberty application here, and we can see we created the student Chris. So if I refresh the page, there's a student being there, but I've forgotten to actually add the name to the student. Anyway, so there's also the ability to add, we can add a name for the student as well. So let's do another path parameter. add it here. And say for some reason we wanted to make it static, and then we added the constraint that it has to be positive. It doesn't really make sense to have a negative age. We'll get another diagnostic. Constraint annotations are not allowed on static fields. And so, as in the GIF earlier, I can just remove that static modifier. I also need getters, that's what I'm saying. Cool. And then set it in the constructor. So now we're creating a student with an age. So we should be able to do something like student Mark, who's 24. Again, get the new message and refresh it. And yeah, now that I have the getters, we're getting the names as well, and the ages. So these annotations, again, they're just constraint annotations. If we didn't have this positive one, we would be able to create weird students with, negative ages, and it wouldn't get mad at us. Whereas when we have the constraint, we'll see here that we can't create a student with a negative age. So that's just to show some of the quick fixes we've added and how they can be used to make a little student list application. And I will pass it back now, I think, to Kathryn. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Leslie and Matthew. So the point here is that as you have your Jakarta EE language server enabled and you're coding with your Jakarta EE APIs, as you saw in the demo, you'll start to get some diagnostics if perhaps you've used some of the specs wrong, or as Matthew showed, there are snippets so that you can get chunks of code that you may use very often easier. So now I'm going to talk a bit about what's next for the project. So as Leslie and Matthew showed, we have been working on adding support for some priority web profile APIs. So we have complete support for servlet, persistence, and bean validation, as well as context and dependency injection. And the team has been working on adding support for Jakarta RESTful web services, JSON-B, and annotations. And there are still a few priority web profile APIs we would like to add support for as well. Beyond that, we would like to work towards an easily installable Eclipse IDE plugin so that people can try out the application in their own Eclipse IDE instances and just make it easier to install. We also have a number of internal enhancements we would like to add to the project, such as dynamic templating for snippets and filtering diagnostics based on the class path. As well as expanding beyond the web profile APIs, we would like to add language support for the remaining Jakarta EE APIs, and looking forward even more into the future, eventually expanding to more editors, so perhaps creating a VS Code client that would consume the LSP4 Jakarta language server. And I'll end here with a call to get involved. So as we mentioned, we are now under the Eclipse namespace as the project proposal has been approved. So you can contribute today directly to the LSP4 Jakarta project. On GitHub, we welcome issues for any enhancements or specific API support you'd like to see, or as it's open source, just submit any pull requests for any items you'd like to see, and definitely try it out, check out the project. We welcome any feedback or suggestions you guys may have. And that's all we have for today.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, team. So as the team has demonstrated, and as we Kathryn was sharing, it's still in the early days of the project, right? So we have support for a preliminary set of APIs and web profile for Jakarta EE, and we are working to with the team and the community to build additional support for additional APIs. As we all know, there's a significant number of APIs in Jakarta EE itself, so we'll work towards that. At the same time, there's also the client and client-side support, whether it's with Eclipse for sure, and others IDEs down the road that we will be want to build and be happy to collaborate with any interested parties with, right? So if you want to contribute, we would certainly be glad to work with you on that. Just reach out, right? Through the GitHub or otherwise, we'd be happy to discuss whether it's with contribution or working together on the language server itself, or with the front-end Eclipse IDE client, or with consuming the language server in other IDEs out there, whether it's NetBeans, VS Code, and so on and so forth, IntelliJ. We'll be happy to discuss, because we really want to build a solid language server here for Eclipse, for Jakarta EE, and then to enable developers out there to work with Jakarta EE APIs easily in any editor, essentially. So, yeah. Kevin has a question, so we can take some questions. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat, and then I'll ask a question, and we'll try to talk through them in the rest of the time we have here. Yes, we do have a GitHub project set up, which is there, right? Well, I guess Kevin is asking more specifically about project plans. Yeah, that's what we are looking to build out, right? So now that we have the initial contribution and the initial set of work going on, so we'll flesh out and build out a bit more of a concrete project plan. We expect that we will work towards completing the support for web profile first, and then also having, and then one of the items that Kathryn was saying is to look at to see if we can build a client for Eclipse IDE and have it maybe even in the marketplace if possible, as an early release first. So that's what we'll look to do, and we'll fill in the blanks and flesh out the plan in more details as we move forward. So yeah, if you have any suggestions or feedback, just post them in GitHub or create an issue or whatnot, right? So we'll look at them. Yes, we certainly look forward to and we appreciate community participation and contribution, because it's really open source, and that's what Jakarta itself it's about, right? So open collaboration on moving forward the what we need to define as the open set of cloud native Java APIs for building cloud native applications with Java, right? So similarly on this end of this side of the fence with the tooling, it's again it's an open collaborative effort. So we look forward to any and all collaboration and contributions from anyone. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you, YK, Kathryn, Leslie, and Matthew for that presentation today. If there are any last-minute questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat just while I wrap things up here. Thank you again, team, for all your hard work this year, and your progress is definitely fantastic to see. We're really excited to see what comes next for this project, and we look forward to future tech talks that you guys present. So just a few housekeeping things before we wrap up. The next Jakarta Tech Talk will happen on Tuesday, when Chad Carlson from Platform SH presents GitOps Keeps the Focus on Product, not on Infrastructure. And you can register for that session using the link I just posted in the chat. We are also always looking for more tech talks. So if you'd like to sign up to present one, you can do so using the second link that I just posted. And finally, if you have any feedback for the Tech Talk program as a whole, or if you really like this session, we'd love to hear from you. So if you use the link that I just, or use the button that I just posted at the bottom of the screen there to submit your feedback, we would love to hear that. So at this point, I've got nothing else. So thank you everyone for joining today. And team, if you guys want to say goodbye and thank you, by all means, and we'll wrap this up.
Yep, thank you all. And reach out if you have any feedback or suggestions. And it's great being able to have the opportunity to share where the project is and what the team has done. And well, thank you for hosting us, Hudson and team. So,
all right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks all.